Good morning, people. First, I apologize for the confusion yesterday surrounding some supposed screencasts that never uploaded. I got up early, started working on these screencasts and going through notes and making sure I had my ducks in a row for class. And I filmed them all, and then I started the uploading process, or they initially started on their own. Uh, as of this morning, I have one that's downloaded to Google Drive here. So that's my Ag Power from first period. I probably started that at like 6:30 yesterday, and it's still not all these here, nothing. So supposedly it's a Google issue. I'm just sending these out to YouTube so the world can see them, and then you can access them on that link. So I'm sorry that some of you all had dedicated 9 or 10 to 11, whatever, to work on my stuff. And then I just got slammed with questions about what the heck's going on. So I'm sorry. Another question that I had a lot yesterday from this class in particular was, well, can you post everything so we can get it all done? Guys, it is so day to day for me that's just not possible. I know what we're doing tomorrow, but you can say I'm at school because I want to take advantage of the internet. I've been here for a while now, and I can't in good conscience sit here while I know I've got Maeve's homework to do and everything. So you can reach out to me, and I will try maybe to get a day ahead, but the reality of me putting all 13 of these up and letting you just work through them and check them off is just not possible. So I will try and reply individually to everybody that asked me that yesterday. I don't think it's going to happen though. And from an organizational standpoint, for me, keeping everybody straight and checking off who's done what is just tough. So anyway, here's some other proof. So yesterday I tried to upload these things to YouTube, and it said that my video was too long, so I had to go back and amend the time restriction on that. It's been a learning process, so I am sorry. I do apologize. Today we're going to talk internal parasites. I want to go through and let you know kind of what's expected. So on the Google site, one thing I will say, some of you all got anxious when the screencast wasn't working and you just went through and you posted some answers on the worksheet and they're wrong. So you need to go back and revise your answers using the slideshow. And if the screencast uploads from yesterday, then I will go ahead and post that. Once it goes to the drive only, I can't put it on YouTube. Well, I might be able to. I'll play around with it this morning for a little while and see if I can get that to work. But some of you all were answering things like, what are the 2 locations that which parasites can be, and you put the mouth and the ear. Well, yeah, those are 2 locations that parasites can be, but I was looking for internal or external or endo and ecto. So, maybe it was a bad question, but I think if you had seen the screencast, if you had listened to me talk through it, it would have made more sense. So please go back and make sure your answers are correct on those. We'll go from there today. I'm just going to go through the screencast, and then the final document is going to be your flashback and what I want you to do. As I go through the screencast, I want you to take notes on these different internal parasites. We're going to cover the 6 big ones that we see in most small animals. There's about 15 out there. Given our time, I don't really feel the need to go through all 15 of them. So we're going to hit the big ones for this class, and then hopefully when we come back, we can talk more about parasites to kind of wrap up and get you ready for these assessments. So I will finalize what you're going to do after the screencast goes through. Just take some notes, and then you're going to come to the worksheet. The worksheet here has the flashback. What is the food source for most internal and external parasites? I think yesterday, like 4 people got that. So the primary thing is blood. These are blood suckers. They feed off of that host. And then the other acceptable answer might be the intestinal wall, but they're latched on the intestinal wall, not really eating what's left. They're going after the blood again. So if you said intestinal wall, I'd give it to you. And then classification of parasites, again, endo and ecto, internal and external. Okay. So yeah, we've got those. Today we're going to talk about roundworms. We're going to talk about tapeworms, and we are going to talk about where's that header? Hookworms. So roundworms, tapeworms, and hookworms. And without further ado, here we go. I'm going to move pretty fast through these just because the longer the video, the longer it takes to upload, and I've already burnt 4 or 5 minutes here. So going to go relatively quick. Tomorrow we're going to hit the last 3 internals. We'll review those. We'll move to externals. We'll review those. And that should have about half of our furlough here from school knocked out. So common internal parasites. So in your notes, there are different life stages of these parasites here. The first one we've got is the roundworm. The roundworm egg, it has a defined exterior border, and then it's got a larger central portion to that egg. The adult roundworm looks like spaghetti. It is about the size of angel hair pasta. It's going to be about half the length of one strand of that pasta. So if that you're trying to identify these on a slide, when we do an assessment, when you take that that certification test, that is what we're looking for. This is the most common internal parasites in puppies and kittens. So they inhabit the small intestine, and they actually are more visible when puppies vomit. And we do see some of them in the stool. It has to be a major infestation for them to be present. Most of the time in the stool, we're going to see those eggs. The adult worm is long and it looks like spaghetti. So different classifications. There is one, and we can't see it here, but Leonia is the dog and cat, and then there's the Canis and the cat eye types, and they're individual to those species. How are they transmitted? The eggs are ingested. So if it's a direct transmission. Indirect, you could get the paranetic host for both cats and dogs. So what happens? They enter the body through the organs. They migrate to the lungs and through the trachea. They're swallowed as a larva after they've kind of incubated in that area. And then they go to the small intestine where they mature. Eggs are then shed in the feces, and those are reconsumed, and voila, the cycle continues. So you can pause this, obviously, and get that in your notes. Signs that we've got them. The biggest thing to take away here is potbelly. That means that the intestinal wall is actually swelling because these physical worms are in there. We'll see some diarrhea, lots of coughing, lots of vomiting because they are trying to expel them from their body. And if they get bad enough, all internal parasites are going to cause anemia. They're bloodsuckers. Tapeworms, number 2. You can see that not only do we have this very round exterior, we've got this defined inner wall, and then there is a central part of that cell, that inner egg, that separates it from being the roundworm. So there's 3 defined sections there. The segment on the Tania tapeworm is big. 5 millimeters is about probably the length or half the length of your pinky nail. Probably the width of most people's pinky nail, I guess. So pretty big, very, very, very visible, about the size of a grain of rice. Common in both dogs and cats. They're long and flat, and they are segmented. Okay, the eggs look like grains of white rice, and they're shed in the feces. The segments are visible around the anus. So you can look up tapeworm in dogs, and if they have a long coat or long-haired cats, you will actually, if they have tapeworm, they actually fall onto their hair, and they get stuck there. Adults attach to the wall of the small intestine where they absorb nutrients. The flea is a vector for tapeworms. So vector, again, meaning that they're not showing signs, but they are transmitting that. Modes of transmission, and my box here. I don't want to mess with it didn't work. Sorry. Anyway, modes of transmission are going to be from the host. They can't, common hosts are rabbits, dogs, cats, mice, lice, fleas, all of those. So indirect, if they have a flea problem, they can be a carrier. They can be carrying this tapeworm parasite. I think that was on that slide. And then intermediate hosts are rabbits, mice, and lice. Their life cycle. And you can pause this if you want to write it down, or please write it down. We've got the flea. The eggs are ingested by the dog or the cat. The larvae migrate to the intestine where they mature, and then the segments are just shed. These eggs are shed in the feces, and then they're visible in the feces. I think this next image might be graphic. Yeah, so you can see here those segments are actually visible in this dog poop. Weight loss is going to be the main one, like we saw in that Dr. Pole video with the horse that was in the van, if you all remember that. That horse had such a thick coat they couldn't tell that it had lost that much weight, but it just wasn't eating, and it didn't have much will to live. So if we see segments in the feces, we know that we have an internal parasite issue. If they're white and they look like grains of rice, it's probably going to be tapeworm. Hookworm. This is a microscopic image of the mouth. The hookworm hooks into the skin. So the egg has that oval shape, and then there are 4 little segments inside. The hookworm has a tapered orifice on both ends, and then if we zoom in on their mouth parts, they have these 2 little fangs that actually hook into the side of the intestine. So they feed on the wall of the intestine. Again, they're feeding for the blood. They're getting those nutrients. They constantly change feeding sites. And because of that, because of those teeth that latch into the intestine, they can cause hemorrhaging. So once they get full on that site, they release and they move to another. And blood can actually be spewing out inside the intestine. We'll notice when we talk about indications here, we'll see blood in the stool. Because of that. There are 2 different types. One is more of a warmer, and then one is the colder, and clystoma, and then Eucenaria. Yeah. So warmer climates being Central America, the northern region the African region, the northern region of Australia, and then we have the northern Canada, U.S. So hookworms are one that aren't easy to forget because of their mouth parts. We ingest them. They can actually penetrate the skin. If you walk around barefoot, those hookworms can latch onto your feet, and then they can work their way into your body. So penetrate your skin, and then they can actually be transmitted through the mammary system of a female to her offspring. So we see that in pigs, puppies, humans. The larvae are ingested. They're absorbed and they're passed through the host. They migrate to the lungs via the bloodstream. Those larvae then pass through the trachea, and they can be coughed up and swallowed. And then they hook onto the intestinal wall and are shed through the feces. So you can, again, pause this to write it down. Clinical signs. Main one with these, they're going to become anorexic. They just lose weight, dull coat, anemic. Because of that hemorrhaging in the intestinal wall, we'll see blood in the stool. Animals are going to be lethargic and listless, pretty tired. I think that's got it. We'll hit whipworms tomorrow. So covered briefly those 3. I really want you to digest what was written on those slides for your notes. And then we're going to circle back to the worksheet, and you're going to find a representative picture of the eggs, a representative picture of the segment, the worm in its adult life, the types that there are, how it's transmitted, the life cycle, clinical signs, and then if it's zoonotic. And I'll let you use your resources on the zoonotic. I don't think I dwelled on that much, but check it out. If you have any questions, please email me. I will get back to you. I'll be by my phone all day. My internet at home is not what I thought it was, given the fact that the screencast deal took forever and it's kind of been spotty. So anyway, we will talk soon, guys. I appreciate your hard work, and see you in the morning.